Trump is pressuring Powell for a rate cut. Why is that? Because inflation is currently slowing down. The CPI data came out lower than expected. The PPI data also came out lower than forecast. What is this telling you? This is telling you that what inflation, which is the increase in prices of goods and services in USA, is currently slowing down. This is why This is why Donald Trump is disturbing and calling for a rate cut. Okay, so he can He can encourage more borrowing. Now, I need you guys to understand that fundamental analysis helps you to understand this market, gives you direction. Now, earlier this morning, Iran attacked Israel and Israel retaliated. What happened? Gold shoots to the upside. Now, most people were actually selling gold. Most people were actually sleeping. But you need to understand that fundamental analysis will always invalidate technical analysis. Try as much as possible to make sure you understand fundamental analysis like a pro. Now, recently on my Instagram story, I made a post when the CPI data was out. I said the PPI data will also come out lower. Why? Because remember, CPI controls or gives you data concerning inflation, while PPI gives you inflation at producer's level. So if CPI is reducing, definitely PPI will also reduce, okay? And also at this point, Donald Trump is looking for every means possible to make sure he brings investors back into USA. Even if we all know at the moment, the dollar is not attractive to invest in. That was why Donald Trump is actually pushing for the gold dollar Visa card, okay? Now, I don't know if you guys have seen the information. You see it here in your screen. Donald Trump wants investors to buy the dollar card and also become a citizen of the US if they are willing to invest this certain amount of dollars, okay, millions of dollars into the economy, okay? Now, let's head to the class. Let's see what my students are actually doing at the moment. Then I'll explain to you guys more about why Donald Trump is pushing for a rate cut, what would happen to the market, what we should look forward to, and how the month of June will unravel. Come with me, guys. Hey guys, morning. How's everything going now? Hope you guys have been learning so far, right? And the basics, everything is going well. So I'll be joining you guys next week. I'll be bringing introduction to fundamental analysis, supply and demand, and how to get precision when it comes to trading the forex market, okay? Entries and exits. So for now, I just want you guys to soak properly with the basic. Because if you don't understand this basic, it's just like building a house. If the foundation is not strong, no matter how tall that house is, to fall one day. You understand? So make sure you understand, especially risk management. It's very, very important, because no matter how much you know in the forex market, if you don't understand risk management, you will continue to blow your account. You will say the market is going to this direction. It will go to that direction, but it will first blow your account. Do you understand? So please make sure you understand all this properly. If you have a question, do well to ask my educator here. He will always answer you guys, okay? And I'll join you guys next week, Wednesday, okay? Thank you guys so much. Peace. All right, so that's our June badge currently ongoing for the mentorship. If you see what's going on, I just went to check up on the students, see what they are learning so far, and I'll be joining them next week to break down more fundamental analysis on how to get entry and exit using supply and demand. So if you would love to enroll for our physical mentorship, do well to enroll for the July badge, which the registration is currently ongoing. You can DM us on Instagram to the Sniper Academy, and immediately you'll get the slot. Okay, make sure you join our academy. We're located at Abuja. Okay, now let's head into the class. So I'll break down what Donald Trump is trying to do or achieve with the rate cuts, the Trump gold card visa, Israel and Iran war, and what would happen to gold, USD JPY, GBP USD, major pairs, minor pairs, and exotic pairs. I remain Tony Sniper. My name is Oko Anthony Uche. Let's go to the class, guys. Everyone has been wondering why the prices of oil is going up, and also more information concerning Trump's rate cuts. Let me explain everything to you today so you will not end up being confused, and you will know how to navigate throughout this week or throughout the month of June. And come with me to the board. Now, if you can look at this carefully, right? The first topic we'll be talking about today is Trump rate cut effect. Okay? Now, yesterday, or I think day before yesterday, or depending on when you're watching this video, the CPI data was released and also the PPI data was released. Now, after the CPI data was released and we saw a decrease that was less than forecast, that actually showed or actually told investors and traders that what? Inflation is cooling down. Now, I told my mentorship students and also my students in class, and I also posted on my Instagram story, you can see here, I already made predictions saying the next PPI data that will be coming out, which was the next day, would also what? Be lower than forecast. Why? Because inflation is slowing down. So why would the inflation on PPI, which is at producers level, also not slow down? That's where we fall down to this point here. Okay, now let's talk about the Trump rate cut and the rate effect. Why is Donald Trump pushing for a rate cut? Inflation is slowing down. Do you understand? And whenever inflation is slowing down, the feds, which is the federal government, they're always focusing on what? On cutting interest rates. Then when they notice that what? CPI is increasing or PPI is increasing, of course, if PPI is increasing, CPI will increase. If CPI is increasing, PPI will increase. Why? Because the both of them talk about what? Inflation. And we all know inflation is what? The increase of prices of goods and services in a country, right? Good. Now, if CPI is increasing, of course, there is going to be a rate hike. Why is there going to be a rate hike? So that they can actually what? Tackle tackle the inflation and also what? Reduce borrowing. Okay, because borrowing will become hard and investors will see that currency attractive and they'll want to buy more of that currency. So whenever they increase the rate hike or whenever they hike rates, what would happen? That currency will strengthen for a short period of time, okay, before it will start getting weak. But whenever there's a rate cut, we'll be having a news on Wednesday and the Fed will be releasing if there will be a rate cut or a rate hike. If there's a rate cut, that currency is going to what? Lose its value. Immediately they just release it and you see a rate cut, it will dump immediately. Let's say example, they release it and you see USD rate cut, it will dump USD immediately. Do you understand? So that's why Donald Trump is actually what? Pushing for a rate cut. Another reason why Donald Trump is actually pushing for a rate cut is because borrowing will become cheaper. Do you understand? Borrowing will become cheaper. Businesses in the US will expand. You've seen so many news of him talking about he wants US to be producing cars, phones, this, blah, blah, blah. Do you understand? Then also, demand of goods and services will go high. Prices will also go high. Of course, it has its downside because it leads to inflation if not tackled properly. But of course, Donald Trump is the president and he has a reason for that. So the reason why the currency will lose its value is because what? Bonds will become less attractive. Nobody will see that currency as something to buy at that period of time, okay? So that's what the rate cut effect will do to dollar. Expect dump if they cut rates. Now let's talk about oil prices. Now oil prices have actually been surging since Israel vs Iran started their war. Why? Because now there's demand for oil. Now let me give you guys a simple explanation and not just fill your head with so many fundamental jargons so you don't confuse yourself. A simple explanation why oil prices is increasing aggressively is because what? They need this oil for what? For manpower, to move military from different parts of the state into the capital or into where the war is taking on or into where they want all of them to assemble. They need oil. Number one, Iran also exports a lot of oil, so you need them to actually what? To export oil to this country, so they will have to hike the price. Do you understand? That's why oil is actually increasing, because the demand for oil is actually getting higher. Remember that Donald Trump wanted oil to crash below $40, but all of a sudden we all woke up and actually what? We saw that oil is over what? $70. So this is the reason why oil will continue to pump. So long as the war between Israel and Iran continues, oil will continue to shoot to the upside. Not just oil. I'll talk about some of the peers that we should also focus on. Just stay to the end of this video. Now let's talk about the Trump's 5 million gold card. I'm sure most of you have seen that, where Donald Trump said if you buy the 5 million gold card, you get an instant citizenship or a visa that grants you access to the US whenever you want to. Now Donald Trump so far said over 15,000 individuals have registered, meaning they've generated over $75 billion if the data are actually true. Now he said he will use those data to also what? Tackle some of the problems or things that need to be fixed in the US. Do you understand? So in other words, this gold card investment that Donald Trump is talking about is also what? Is also a good investment, because what? It will bring in so many money or so much money into the US economy, okay? Which will thereby what? allow the government to use them to maybe handle one or two things in the country. Now, let's talk about Trump versus China deal conclusion. We've seen so many information. Donald Trump and the president of China recently had a meeting in London, and according to Trump, because we've not heard anything from China, according to Trump, the deal went well. They've actually signed a proper deal. They are just waiting for China to conclude everything. And due to the effect of everything, there will be like a 50% tariff from China, then this on Trump. You can see it on my screen. So let's wait and let's see what China will say regarding that, because they've not said anything since. Donald Trump have been the one saying and speaking for everybody. Okay, so let's see what will happen to that. Then now, peers to focus on. Now, if all things go as planned, for example, the Israel and Iran war continues, gold will continue to pump, US oil will continue to pump, USD JPY will dump, GBP JPY, Euro JPY, they will all dump. USD CHF will also dump, okay? Now, let's go to the chart. Let me just show you guys something very quick, okay? Now, let's move to Forex Factory first. Now, on Forex Factory, we can actually see that on Wednesday, there will be what? There will be a federal funds rate, okay? Also, there will be FOMC, which is the Federal Open Committee, then also FOMC statement. Now, what do you want to focus on here? You want to focus on what? The federal funds rate, okay? Because interest rates at which depository institution lend balances held at the Federal Reserve to other depository institutions overnight. If the actual is greater than forecast, of course, I've told you, if there's a rate hike, it is good for the economy, right? And if there's a rate cut, it is bad for the economy. So you can see the last interest rate that has been released from December 18th, 2024 down till date. They've not hiked rates, they've not cut rates, they've just held rates at the position where it has been ever since, right? Now, Donald Trump is calling for Powell to cut rates, but I don't know why Powell is refusing to cut rates, although Powell has been in this business for long, so you can't tell him to just do something and all of a sudden, because Trump is the president, he will do it. No, you understand? So we want to focus on this data here. If the interest rates now come out, for example, 4.0 or 3.5, expect a dump on dollar and a pump on gold. But if this interest rate comes out at maybe 4.55 or 5.0, that means there's a rate what? Hike. Remember, rate hike means they increase rates, rate cut means what? They cut rates. Just pay attention to that. If you would love to get more information about this, make sure you join my mentorship. Our physical mentorship is still ongoing. We are located in Abuja, and you can find the link in the description, okay? Now, let's head to the chart. Let's see what's going on the chart. Let me open the chart immediately. Okay, now good, right? Now, this is the gold chart. This is the gold chart on the daily time frame, right? So what happens on the federal funds rate release on Wednesday? If there's a rate cut, expect gold to create a new all-time high. And if there's a rate hike, what will happen? Gold will dump, because what? Investors will find dollar attractive and will move into dollar. Now, moving to what? USD JPY. Of course, if there's a rate cut, USD JPY is going to what? USD JPY is going to continue dumping aggressively to the downside. Okay? USD JPY is going to what? USD JPY is going to continue what? Dumping aggressively to the downside. Okay? Pay attention to that. And also, one more and the most important, US oil. Remember what I've talked about concerning US oil. US oil will continue to surge to the upside until the Israel and Iran war settles. My name is Oko Anthony Uche, also known as Tony Sniper. If you've not seen my previous video where I talked about what I do before taking trades every Monday, you can find the link in the description. Thank you all so much, and do have a wonderful day. Peace.